I woke up at 3:17 in the morning to the sound of my best friend trying to kill me. Not with a gun, not with a knife, with silence. My name is Elias Vance. I'm 85 years old, and for 50 years I've carried a secret that weighed more than any mountain I ever climbed. What I'm about to tell you isn't a story about gold, though there was gold. It's about what happens to a man's soul when his brother decides he's worth more dead than alive. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, stay with me, because what happened in those mountains 50 years ago will change how you see everything. October 14th, 1968. The night before everything ended, Thomas Reed and I were sitting on a ridge in the Yukon, watching our breath turn to ghosts in the firelight. We were brothers. Not by blood, by something I thought was stronger. 3 years we'd spent in those mountains. 3 winters where every morning was a gamble with death. We'd saved each other's lives so many times we'd stopped counting. Thomas was the kind of man who'd give you his last match in a blizzard, who'd carry your pack when you collapsed, who'd wake up at 2 a.m. just to make sure you were still breathing. I'd have walked through fire for him. That night we passed a flask of whiskey that tasted like gasoline and planned our futures like kings. "What's the first thing you'll do, Eli?" he asked. I told him about my mother, how I'd buy her a house with a porch, somewhere she could rest after a lifetime of cleaning other people's homes so I could eat. Thomas went quiet, stared into the fire like he could see something I couldn't. "I just want to be somebody," he said. "Somebody people remember." I should have heard the hunger in those words. Not for comfort, not for peace, for power. But when you love someone, you miss the signs. You think wanting something makes them noble. You don't realize hunger can turn a man into a wolf. 2 days later, we found it. A mineral vein so rich it didn't look real, tucked behind a glacial shelf like God himself wanted it hidden. Gold, rare earth minerals, a fortune that would change bloodlines. When the morning sun hit it, the whole mountain glowed. We didn't speak for 5 minutes, just stood there, 2 men in torn coats, staring at more money than we could count. Then Thomas screamed, pure joy, like a child, and I started laughing, and then we were dancing in the snow, falling over each other, crying and shouting at the sky. For exactly 4 hours, we were the richest, happiest men on earth. I have a photograph from that day. We're both grinning, arms around each other. Thomas is holding up a chunk of ore like a trophy. I've stared at that photograph 1,000 times, and I can see it now. The exact moment in his eyes when the joy stopped, when something cold slid in behind his smile, when he stopped seeing me as his brother and started seeing me as the man who owned 50% of his empire. You never truly know a person until you place a fortune between you in an empty place, no witnesses, no rules, just 2 men and their true nature. His nature was a wolf, mine. I was about to find out. Betrayal isn't a knife, it's rust. Thomas stopped making eye contact, stopped laughing, started sleeping with his rifle across his chest. I told myself it was cabin fever, the isolation, too long in the mountains. But the air between us changed, heavy, electric, like the pressure before lightning. He'd sketch maps and cover them when I walked by, count our supplies in a little book he hid in his coat, talk about securing the claim and protecting our investment. One night I woke up to find him standing at the edge of our tent, just watching me sleep, his hand on his knife. "Couldn't sleep," he said. "I should have left then, should have taken my half and walked away, but I loved him. And love makes you blind, makes you ignore the signs, makes you believe that if you're loyal enough, the person you knew will come back." He never came back, because the man I loved had never existed. I'd been sleeping next to a stranger for 3 years, and I was about to find out what strangers do when no one's watching. November 4th, 1968. The storm hit at sunset. Wind that erased the world, snow so thick you couldn't see your own hands. Thomas said we'd wait it out, leave in the morning. I believed him. I woke up at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of our only truck, fading into the storm. I ran outside in my socks, no coat, screaming his name into the wind until my voice shattered. But he was gone. Inside I understood he'd taken every map, Every piece of proof I'd been there. He'd taken the radio, our only connection to help. He'd taken 80% of the food, left me 3 cans of beans. He'd left me his broken compass, the one he knew would lead me in circles until I froze to death. And on the table, a note, 3 words. I'm sorry, Eli. The cold that night wasn't the weather. It was the realization that my brother, the man I'd have died for, had just buried me alive. He didn't have the courage to shoot me. He just wanted the mountains to do it, so he could sleep at night. So he could tell himself it wasn't murder, just bad luck. But here's what he didn't know. You can't kill a man who refuses to die. Day 1, I cried. Day 2, I wanted to die. Day 3, I started walking. 22 days through the Yukon winter. My feet bled through my boots by day 5. I wrapped them in strips of my shirt, kept walking. I ate lichen, drank snowmelt that cramped my stomach, kept walking. I talked to ghosts, to God, to my mother. Kept walking. On day 14, I couldn't stand anymore. I lay down in the snow, closed my eyes, and I heard my mother's voice, clear as if she was standing over me. Elias Vance, you get up right now. I got up. Somewhere around day 16, the sadness hardened. The tears stopped. The anger stopped. What was left was something colder, clearer. I realized that if I died, Thomas's lie became truth. He'd be the tragic survivor. I'd be the fool who wandered off in a storm. I survived because I refused to let a thief write my ending. Survival isn't hope. Survival is spite, in its purest form. I made it to a mining outpost on day 23, walked in looking like death, frostbite, 40 pounds lighter. First thing I did was call a lawyer. No case, no maps, no witnesses, no proof, just my word against Thomas Reed, who'd already filed the claim, who had documentation, who had buyers lined up, who'd thought of everything. People asked why I didn't fight him, why I didn't go to the papers, burn his life down. I thought about it. But then I realized something. Fighting him meant staying chained to him, thinking about him every day, letting him live in my head forever. He'd stolen my gold. I refused to let him steal my peace too. So I chose a different path. I didn't destroy him. I just stopped needing him. I moved to Montana, became a carpenter, married a woman named Sarah who loved me because I made her laugh, because I showed up, because I kept my word. I raised children, taught them to fish, to build things, to keep their promises. I built a quiet, honest life. And from a distance, I watched Thomas become a king. He used our gold to build an empire. Mining companies, real estate, magazine covers. People called him a visionary. But I knew the truth. Men like Thomas don't win. They just delay the reckoning. He spent 50 years looking over his shoulder, hiring security, sleeping with one eye open. He was a prisoner in a palace built with stolen keys. And I was free. Last week, I read Thomas Reed's obituary. Dead at 87. Surrounded by lawyers and distant relatives who only called when they needed money. The article called him a titan of industry, a self-made man. I cut it out, put it on my kitchen table, stared at it for an hour. You know what I felt. Nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just nothing. I'm standing at my window right now, looking at mountains. Not the Yukon. Different mountains. Smaller. Kinder. My hands are empty. My bank account is modest. But my heart is quiet. Sarah's making coffee in the kitchen. I can hear my grandson playing in the yard. Tonight we'll have dinner. We'll laugh about nothing important. And it will be perfect. Thomas died with everything. Mansions, cars, buildings with his name on them. And absolutely nothing. No one who loved him. No peace. No memories that weren't poisoned. Listen to me. If someone has betrayed you, stolen from you, destroyed something you loved, if you're holding on to rage right now, planning revenge, unable to sleep, hear this. Revenge isn't fire. It isn't justice. It isn't getting even. Real revenge is letting them see you happy while they're still exactly who they were when they hurt you. Real revenge is building something beautiful with empty hands. Real revenge is refusing to become them. If you rush it, you lose twice. Once to the betrayal, and once to the betrayal, and once to the the bitterness that eats you alive. Wait, grow, build, choose peace. Thomas got the gold, but I got the view. And God, it's a beautiful day to be alive. The best revenge is a life well lived, and I've lived so well, and I'm finally free. If you are still here, thank you for listening to my story. It is a reminder that no matter what has been taken from us, the peace we build for ourselves is the one thing no thief can touch. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Until next time, keep building your own beautiful view